Hello, my darlings, and welcome to yet another Grimm fairy tale bedtime story. Tonight we're going to be taking a listen to The Queen Bee. So, get cozy, get comfortable, and I hope you enjoy. Two kings' sons once started to seek adventures and fell into a wild, reckless way of living, and gave up all thoughts of ever going home again. Their third and youngest brother, who was called Witling, had remained behind and started to seek them, and when at last he found them, they jeered at his simplicity in thinking that he could make his way in the world, while they, who were so much cleverer, were unsuccessful. But they all three went on together until they came to an ant-hill, which the two eldest brothers wished to stir up that they might see the little ants hurry about in their fright, carrying off their eggs. But Witling said, "Leave the little creatures alone, I will not suffer them to be disturbed." And they went on further until they came to a lake where a number of ducks were swimming about. The two eldest brothers wanted to catch a couple and cook them, but Witling would not allow it and said, "Leave the creatures alone. I will not suffer them to be killed." And then they came to a bee's nest in a tree, and there was so much honey in it that it overflowed and ran down the trunk. The two eldest brothers then wanted to make a fire beneath the tree that the bees might be stifled by the smoke, and then they could get at the honey. But Witling prevented them yet again, saying, "Leave the creatures alone. I will not suffer them to be stifled." At last the three brothers came to a castle, where there were in the stables many horses standing, all of stone, and the brothers went through all the rooms until they came to a door at the end secured with 3 locks, and in the middle of the door a small opening through which they could look through the room. And they saw a little gray-haired man sitting at a table. They called out to him once and twice, and he did not hear, but at the third he got up and undid the locks and came out. Without speaking a word, he led them to a table loaded with all sorts of good things, and when they had each eaten and drunk, he showed them each to their own bedchamber. The next morning the little gray man came to the eldest brother, beckoning him, and brought him to a table of stone on which 3 things were written directing by what means the castle could be delivered from its enchantment. The first thing was that in the wood under the moss lay the pearls belonging to a princess, 1,000 in number, and they were to be sought for and collected. And if he should undertake the task and not have it finished by sunset, if even 1 pearl were missing, he would be turned to stone. So the eldest brother went out and searched all day, but at the end of it he had only found 100, and just as was said on the tablet of stone, he was turned into stone. The second brother undertook the adventure the next day, but it fared no better with him than the first. He found 200 pearls, but was again turned to stone. And so at last it was Witling's turn, and he began to search in the moss, but it was a very tedious business to find the pearls, and he grew so out of heart that he sat down on a stone and began to weep. As he was sitting there, up came the Ant King with 5,000 ants whose lives had been saved through Witling's pity, and it was not very long before the little insects had collected all the pearls and put them in a heap. Now the second thing ordered by the tablet of stone was to get the key to the princess's sleeping chamber out of the lake. And when Witling came to the lake, the ducks whose lives he had saved came swimming, and dived below and brought up the key from the bottom. The third thing that had to be done was the most difficult yet, and that was to choose out of the youngest and loveliest of 3 princesses as they lay sleeping. All bore perfect resemblance to each other, and only differed in this, that before they went to sleep, each one had eaten a different sweet. The eldest a piece of sugar, the second a little syrup, and the third a spoonful of honey. Now the queen bee of those bees that Witling had protected from the fire came at this moment, and trying the lips of all 3, she settled on those of the one that had eaten the honey, and so it was that the king's son knew which one to choose. Then the spell was broken. Everyone awoke from their stony slumber and took their rightful forms again, and Witling married the youngest and loveliest princess, and became king after her father's death. But his 2 brothers had to put up with the 2 other sisters. It's a little bit of a silly story, but I'm always a fan of the ones that are about being kind to the animals around us and having them come back to help you in the end for doing right by them. I don't know, I just always think that's really cute. So this one, always a pleasure to read. And I hope that you all enjoyed as well, and get some good rest, and good night.